It is my especial pleasure to introduce Joseph Millson, who is to be admitted as a Fellow of Rose Bruford College. I have it on excellent authority that Joseph was an exceptional student here, who impressed his tutors by the way he took charge of his own development through showing initiative in extra reading and observation about the process of acting outside the mainstream Stanislavski-based training. He was a serious student, but with a gift for comedy, something that would become manifest later in his career. Joseph graduated in 1995 at a time when the theatre in Britain was going through a renaissance, particularly with regard to new writing, with talented and audacious playwrights like Mark Ravenhill and Sarah Kane being treated like rock stars. This was a heady and exciting time for young actors to start in the profession. Joseph's versatility soon became apparent with varied roles in both theatre and television. Given the 2 to 3 minutes that I have this afternoon, I shall focus on only a few of many. In 2004, he appeared at the National Theatre as Johan Tonnesson in Ibsen's Pillars of the Community and a one-man show, The Lifted Veil. In the Royal Shakespeare Company's ambitious Spanish Golden Age season, most notably as the swaggering Don Carlos in The House of Desires, directed by Nancy Meckler, and as Orlando in Peter Hall's production of Shakespeare's As You Like It at the Theatre Royal Bath. He returned to the RSC in 2006 to play the bastard in King John, and to critical and popular acclaim, Benedick, to Tamsin Gregg's Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing. I remember this as perfect casting, an intelligent and witty pair, blessed with immaculate comic timing and a gift for physical clowning. Joseph was described as deliciously funny when in denial and breathtaking in his passionate tenderness at the end. And one critic was moved to say that he was a definitive Benedick, where the elements of wit, anger, and vulnerability are thrillingly mixed in this actor. The following year, he ventured into pantomime, but one with impeccable credentials. Cinderella at the Old Vic in a version by Stephen Fry. He was, of course, Prince Charming, in a performance that lived up to his name, but with a sharp sense of irony and an unexpected, strip-teasing, sexually charged shower scene with Dandini. In 2009, with a seemingly unfailing ability to choose work on good plays at prestigious venues, he appeared in Judgment Day by Christopher Hampton at the Almeida Theatre and The Priory by Michael Wynne at the Royal Court, and as a memorable Alexander, Soviet dissident and political prisoner in Every Good Boy Deserves Favour by Tom Stoppard, with a powerful musical score by Andrei Previn at the National Theatre. In this remarkable production of striking images, directed by Tom Morris and punch-drunk's Felix Barrett, Joseph compellingly conveyed the character's fierce intelligence and moral courage in a turbulent, frightening, and ultimately absurd world. Shaven-headed, gaunt, with an extraordinary physical stillness, this was a pitch-perfect, beautifully judged performance, which I can vividly recall today. Joseph returned to the National last year as Ben Stark in Clifford Odets' Rocket to the Moon, but not before he had given an award-winning performance as Raoul in Andrew Lloyd Webber's latest musical, Love Never Dies, in London's West End. So he can sing too. Many of you will have seen Joseph on television as Dr. Sam Morgan in Peak Practice, Jason James in EastEnders, Alan Jackson in The Sarah Jane Adventures, and Matt Beer in Campus, amongst many others. And most recently as Dr. Luke Hemingway in Holby City, to which he will return, I understand, at the end of this month. His cinema credits include Casino Royale, with several more films yet to be released. And he has been heard during the summer on Radio 4's adaptation of Thomas Mann's Buddenbrooks. Earlier this year, Joseph was appointed an associate artist of the Royal Shakespeare Company. This is an accolade of the highest order from one of the most celebrated theatre companies in the world, and Joseph joins a list of eminent luminaries that includes Derek Jacobi, Simon Russell Beale, Mark Rylance, Juliet Stevenson, Anthony Sher, David Suchet, and Harriet Walter. The RSC has strong connections with the college through Andrew Wade, its former head of voice, who, as a graduate and now fellow of the college, was taught by Rose Bruford, herself an exquisite verse speaker. Two other graduates and fellows, Ray Fearon and Greg Hicks, who perform with the company, Lynn Darnley, formerly head of voice here and one of our honorary fellows, and now head of voice, text and artist development for the company, and the legendary Cicely Berry, the RSC's Director of Voice and Text and patron of our Rose Bruford Centre for Voice and Speech. So you can see that Joseph and you are part of a great tradition which will continue and evolve, I hope, for many years to come. And here today, you can see that Joseph Millson is an inspiration to all for the variety and integrity of his career, which still promises so much. We are proud that he is a graduate of this institution and hope that we will continue to have a long association with him as a distinguished alumnus. Chair of Governors, I therefore present Joseph Millson for admission as a Fellow of Rose Bruford College.
By virtue of the powers invested in me, I admit Joseph Millson as a Fellow of Rose Bruford College.
Thank you. You can keep the Oscar. That was the loveliest thing that's ever happened to me. Now, I understand, most importantly, that my library fines are now wiped clear. I hope. I've been warned that it's got to be short, and it will be short because, as you can see, I haven't prepared anything. This is an extraordinary honour, and I think I'll be hit over the head with that if I take too long. It only seems like yesterday that I was out there throwing my hat into the air and drinking booze. It's a funny old world, isn't it? I really, really can't believe, to be honest, that I'm still getting away with doing this for a living. It is such an honour to do this job. And very briefly, I just want to say a tiny thing about teaching acting, which is such a surreal activity. It's such a hard to quantify. Musicians are either in tune and in time or they're not. The goalposts with acting are awfully wide, and it can seem a very odd business. But what is important about 3 years at a drama school, you guys have finished, but for those teachers, and what is precious for actors, I can only speak for actors, not designers or technicians, is if you were a musician or a writer or a sculptor or an artist, you can practice at home. And it's a very odd business, directing and acting, because at home, it would be masturbation. So I just want to say, you cannot understand how valuable 3 years of knowing you're going to be doing what you want to do every day, 5, 6 days a week, often 7. You have no idea how precious that is, especially as any and all of us spend a lot of time out of work once we leave. So I want to say, in those 3 years, I would encourage staff what this college gave me, which sounds a very odd bit of praise, but it really is praise. I always felt free to fail here, which is so important, I can't tell you. And I'm ridiculously moved because I was about to mention my father, who's no longer with us. And I want to say to you guys, if ever, I don't want to hear any of you, when I meet you in jobs in the future, apologising or in the bar talking about getting a real job or doing something silly for a living. I'll never forget, in 1996, when I hadn't been out of college long, doing a not particularly sparkling tour of Joe Orton's Loot, Bury St Edmunds Theatre Royal came into the bar where my mum and dad, mum's here, were watching, and we were in the bar and we played to all of 112 people and a cat, and I said something to my father, who's not in the, he ran a pub, and I said something about silly job, silly job. I made some passing comment, and he grabbed me, looked me in the eye, and said, "Oi, don't you ever think what you do isn't important." He said, "This is a shitty old world, and you just made a few hundred people laugh for 2.5 hours. Have you any idea how important that is?" And I think Richard Eyre's speech ties in with that. You have no idea what an important job you have. So yeah, faith, hope, charity, more life. Thank you.